Big g'day and welcome to another edition of the RDFNL Footy Show, thanks to On-Time Delivery Solutions. Looking into round 3, we did have a big game that sort of kicked off earlier in the week, but you can check out the website for all that. My name's Yeendy, I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. What a game we saw on Anzac Day, but what some big games we've got this weekend that is going to have all tongues wagging.
It is. There'll be quite a few different interesting ones. I think quite a few close ones. So be interesting to see how some teams go. We could have a couple of teams sitting 0-3 that we didn't expect to be sitting that way, and then a few teams looking to get their first win on the board.
Absolutely, and we do have a reminder, if you haven't jumped across it already, is that the fixture between Diggers Rest and Romsey Kangaroos has been bumped forward to July.
Redbacks.
Sorry, yes. Romsey, I said the Romsey Kangaroos, and I was just reminiscing about the 2011 and 12 grand finals. Anyway, I couldn't dig myself out of that one, but that has been rescheduled for July 28th. After what happened on round 1 where the lights went out there. So a big congratulations to the Lancefield Football Netball Club as well for all the work that they did in moving their games and fixtures so to enable for that to happen. So we're a community football, and it's great to see all clubs helping each other out.
It is, and we spoke about that last week. We thought Queen's Birthday may have been an option, but the split round was the other option there. Obviously now neither side gets a bye at that time of the year when they might have liked it, but it makes it easier, and that teams aren't playing 2 games within 3-4 days like it could have quite easily been.
Exactly, and that's where we turn our attention to one of the first games. We got Melton Centrals versus Romsey, the Redbacks, not the Kangaroos. This is going to be an intriguing game because at this stage we're not too sure what's happened with Weir over at Centrals in terms of whether he'll be made available for this game or not. But whether he plays or not could have a bit of a say in the game. It
is, obviously. He's been a key for them in the first 2 weeks. He kicked 5 goals in round 1, 6 in round 2. So if he had have stayed on the field in that last quarter, up in round 2, quite easily Centrals could have been 2-0. And I think for the Redbacks, I don't take a lot out of their round 1 performance. They're coming up a side that was on fire, and also they'd had that delayed start to season. I don't think they'd played footy for 5 weeks, even including a practice match. So that's a tough start for them. But they've got a good side. They've got all the players they had last year, a very stable side. So I'm expecting a lot better performance from the Redbacks this week.
Your tip for this one?
I've tipped the Redbacks.
Yeah, having what I saw on Saturday night, I think the Centrals are looking very well polished, and I think they will push more sides. And I'd be confident in a very close one that they might just come away with it here. I think they showed a lot of promise. A lot of the young players showed a lot of great flair, and really looking forward to seeing how they go. So this is going to be certainly a good one for them. Game on, we're really looking forward to getting down and watching. We've got Diggers, Rest and Riddle. There is a lot on the line in this contest, including for the Bombers, should they go down.
It is. This is a match that it's always a big one come the season. They did open the season for the last few years, but this time it's round 2, and for both these sides, this is massive. Riddle always comes up and takes that step up when they play the Boroughs, and if Riddle don't get up, they're 0-3. So they started poorly last season and bounced back. They're looking at 0-3 this season. So that's another poor start, and they've got coming up against a side that kicked 45 goals last week. So they're going to have to do a shutdown job on a lot of those Boroughs players to make sure that they don't get the same freedom they had last week.
Particularly on a smaller ground, which Diggers Rest does have, and they know how to use the space very well.
It is, and obviously I can't see the Boroughs kicking that many goals, but they've started well, and they've still got a number of players to come back in. So whether they come back in this week or the next few weeks, there's a lot of positive signs there for the Boroughs already. Yeah,
for mine pre-season, from what I heard around the Bombers, I thought that they were probably going to be almost the premiership favourites, and to be in this position, I mean, they just said they've started slow, and they did that last year as well, and they made the semis, but this is a big concern for them because they've got so much talent in that lineup and so much great youth and depth, but they've got the experience to be a powerhouse side.
It is, and if we actually look at the Bombers' results, 1 kick, they get the points in round 1, 1 poor quarter round 2, so they're not actually that far away from it, and they've played the reigning premiers, and they've played Wong in a side that missed finals last year, which we all expect to play finals. So It's not like they're dropping games against sides that they should be beating. They're dropping games against sides that are going to be up there as well. 0-3 is a concern, but we do know they are slow starters, and they have come back from that in the past.
Will Diggers win this one?
I think that Diggers will win this one. It's hard to tip against a side that kicked 45 goals in round 1. Obviously, they were playing Broadford, but it's still hard to tip against them.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'll side with you on that one there. Wood and Heskett take on Rockbank at home. It's going to be an interesting contest, given Rockbank have only kicked a couple of goals in the first 2 rounds, but I think this is a game where they'll start to put a few things into place that'll start to they'll hit the scoreboard a little bit more, I should say.
I hope so too. Obviously, I know there's a lot of hard work being done there behind the scenes, so hopefully we can start seeing some of that on the scoreboard. It's always going to be a tough season for them, but they've got a lot of young kids and a lot of talented players, so they can get a few goals on the scoreboard, get a bit more confidence, and that will be a big boost for them. For the Hawks, they need to win this one. As we said last week with Melton Centrals, they needed to win that game. They need to win this one. Get this one, you start 3-0, and that's the perfect start for them. Obviously, against sides that are likely to be down the bottom of the ladder, they've beaten Lansfield, beaten Melton Centrals, and now they've got Rockbank. So they've got a brilliant start to the season. They need to make the most of it.
Well, they need to get as much momentum as they can because they do have Rupert's Wood in round 4, and that could be a sort of a defining game for them earlier on in the season.
It is, and obviously a test of where they are, I think, the Ruperts will, but they've got to make sure they don't get ahead of themselves. They have to focus on this game first.
Yeah, I think Rockbank they'll definitely kick a lot more goals. They'll hit the scoreboard more frequently. That's just the sort of game that I reckon will come out. But the Hawks for you on this one?
Definitely the Hawks, yeah.
Fantastic. And Wallen have certainly got a big game this weekend too. I think it's the Sunbury Kangaroos. How do you see this one going?
Look, I think Wallen will get up. I think we've all spoke about what we think of them this season. For the Sunbury Kangaroos, it's to continue what they did last season. So they showed a lot of good signs round 1 against Rupert's Wood in that first half, had a really good game against Rockbank, so they're no easy beat. So I think it'll be a quite competitive match, and the Kangaroos could push the Magpies all the way.
I think Wallen, they're starting to show a bit more flair about it. It's getting pretty frightening at the moment. They are on a mission, and I think I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There is a bit of Macedon of 2000 about them. They were absolutely gutted of missing the finals last year, and they have just taken to every game with tremendous intensity. I wouldn't be surprised if they are undefeated sort of around the halfway mark of the season. They've just got that ability, the spread of players, and I think there's just a bit of confidence, a bit of aura hanging around Green Hill Reserve at the moment.
Look, for them, obviously, it's about beating some of those top sides in the next few weeks. Before getting that further, they need to get the wins on the board against those top sides to make sure they're playing against finals. Obviously, Sunbury, we don't know where Sunbury sort of sits. They have lost a lot of players. They've shown good sides in the first week, so Wallen need to win this one. And then once they get it against a few more of those top sides, your Diggers, Rest, your Macedon,
particularly on the road.
Yeah, we'll get a real good indication of where the Magpies are at.
Now, speaking of indication of where our teams are at, we've got Lansfield versus Broadford. What a game this is going to be.
Could quite possibly be game of the round.
It would be, definitely.
You've got two sides that struggled last year. We expect to struggle this year again. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. Both are developing sides. Both have got new coaches, just to see where they are in the pecking and how far along they are.
Your tip for this one?
I tip Broadford.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see this fixture going the same way as that it did last year, where Broadford got off to a red-hot start. Both teams hadn't won a game at the time, and Lansfield come from behind in the second half to win. I think they won by 16 points, and Broadford didn't kick a goal after half time. So I'm sensing a similar sort of vibe here, as it will have it'll be a tale of two halves, and maybe Lansfield just to get over the line. But I think it's definitely worth the price of admission to go down and watch this one between two sides who are down the bottom, and they're building their youngsters, building a bit of hope around their communities. I know I'm going to a Riddle and Diggers, and I say this in all sincerity, but if I go to a game where I would not have any idea who's going to win, that's the game I'd go to. I
agree with you. It could go either way. That's what we don't know, how they're going to go against sides around each other on the ladder, because they've both played some of those top sides. So it'd be quite interesting, yeah. And I think it could quite easily go either way.
Exactly. Get down there and check that game out. Tara, thanks so much for joining us on the Footy Show this week, looking at round 3. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thanks for having me.